Welcome to the Prodigal and the Priest podcast, a podcast about faith, sports, and two friends from different cultures. Here are your hosts, Joey Scansella and Father Paul Bechter.
What is up?
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo.
Just crushing waters right now. Got these mini waters.
You are crushing waters. That is... I was just sharing with Father Paul earlier today that...
Waters.
Yeah, these mics are very sensitive. I wanted to share that with you. And also the fact that I don't always do the best at drinking water unless it's in coffee. So therefore it's... I mean, it comes from water.
Yeah, but coffee dehydrates you. The caffeine.
Does it?
It's a diuretic, yeah.
Does
all this other stuff.
I mean...
It does.
Says who?
Says,
Science.
Science.
There you go. So if I'm hitting a good 16 ounces of water a day...
Solid.
Solid.
How much is this thing? I always get confused with ounces.
These mini water
8
bottles.
Ounces. This is 8 ounces?
Yeah, if I have two of these, I'm good.
Impressive.
I'm great for the day.
I prefer if you used milliliters, though. This is 237 milliliters.
There you go.
Standard measurement in the metric system.
You wish we were in the metric system?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. All things.
I think
everything.
Kens are...
Hot take. Even temperature. Celsius.
Gosh.
Kilograms. I would prefer that we used kilograms and grams to weigh, unless we moved to stones, the full-on British,
Stones?
It's a unit of measurement of weight.
In reference to
Body weight.
So growing up, you're like, oh, I'm 12 stones or whatever. Or
Yeah,
what?
I have no idea how much it actually is. I just know it's a thing, and I think it's cool
There you
because it's unknown.
So a few shout outs we have
Mysterious.
beginning of this episode. Okay. We ran into a few youngsters at Father Henry's retirement celebration. So for any of our listeners outside of the St. Anne area, our pastor, Father Henry Petter, he has been a priest for 45 years. He just turned 75. He's retiring. Okay, seriously? Second 8 fluid ounces down. He just retired, and on this past weekend, on Saturday, we had this great celebration.
Yeah.
We were in the courtyard. People were there. It was awesome. It was a great environment. 2 youngsters came up to us that jump out that I said I would definitely give them a shout out on the podcast, and I definitely want to do that. And then it inspired this first segment that I want to jump into after. So the first is Avery. Avery shared that she gets to listen to us as she's going to sleep and all of that. Hopefully we don't put her to sleep, but hopefully instead she's just inspired by us before she sleeps. So Avery, thank you for listening, and thank you for coming up to us.
Avery.
Yeah, shout out Avery and her family. And then second is Daniel. I think he goes by Danny, but Daniel came up. He knew the whole intro. He's like, Joey Scansella and Father Paul Bechter. So he loves the music, all of that. Gave us a high five. So just want to give a shout out to both of them. Thank you for that. And so
can I add a shout out?
Absolutely.
Because I had a similar thing happen. Somebody came up to me, young man by the name of Edward. So I want to give Edward also a shout out. Avid listener.
Nice.
Wish him all the best and all the things. I got nothing else.
That was a great shout out. Also, you're probably noticing, if you're watching, we have a little new setup. I found this table, and I was like, hey, I want to be able to put the applause sign and the Rubik's Cube and some other things out. We hung our beautiful Caravaggio picture that was donated to us.
We did hang that up there.
Yeah, when did we hang that up, Father?
It's at a good height. I like how we did this.
Yes, there you go. So thank you to all those. But I have a fun little game for you. It's called Name That Baby Item. You ready?
I'm terrified.
Terrified. So this is a little bit of a follow-up from the Disney one that we did. Remember way
It was
back
ages
when.
ago.
Yeah. But very
with the
popular.
princess, the ice princess,
Yes, Frozen. Yes.
Elsa.
So this one, it just had me thinking with kids, with babies. I have a young baby. I saw you holding one of our coworkers' babies very awkwardly today.
Yeah,
It was
I'm really
great.
bad at it.
You were like, it made me a little anxiety and nervous. Like, is this child going to make it? All of that. And I thought, you know what would be fun? Name some things that parents know of baby items and just see this worldly scholar. You need to explain what this item is and what it's used for. And then I reveal if it's accurate, if you did a fairly good job or not.
So it's kind of like those games where like you get a word and you have to draw it and then
Pictionary?
yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah, we're not drawing anything though.
Yeah, but I have to explain it. And
Sure.
okay, I don't know. It's
Great.
not like that game at all.
Okay, and if you get it wrong, you'll hear. And if you get it right, this giant applause. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. We'll start fairly easy. There's only 5 of them. Okay. So, first one, the nose Frida. The nose Frida.
Spell it.
Nose.
Okay.
Frida. Frida.
Can you use it in a sentence?
I can. I mean, how much do you want me to give away?
Well,
How about
I
this?
don't know.
The
So it has to do with the nose.
The parents used the nose Frida because their child was congested.
Okay, that feels like you're giving a lot away.
I am giving a lot away in that one. I won't do it in the other. I could have been like, the child brought their parent the nose Frida.
Yeah, that's not helpful at all. Okay, so the nose Frida definitely has to do with the nose. Frida is an interesting word to me.
This is what I like. See
because-
the background. Trying
Trying to think through it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be logical about
gotta.
this. Now, here's a lesson for everybody. Etymology can lead you astray because words are defined based on how they're used, and sometimes they travel from their origins. So we always want to look back and be like, oh, break it down. What does the word mean? Etymology.
Right.
That's a really cool thing. I like doing that a lot.
You do it a lot in homilies and different things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you always have to be careful that that word hasn't traveled from its origins too much, because you get all sorts of false friends in languages, right?
You got do you have a good example of this?
I
Maybe
should have,
either
since I brought it up.
scripturally or anything else?
What's a good example?
Well, would it be the whole idea of brother or whatever in like that's Jesus's brother? Just translating and coming, or is that too far off?
Achim is brothers in Hebrew. It would be something like that in Aramaic. What would it
Sure.
be?
Well, let's get back to the nose, Frida.
Yeah, I'm trying to stall right now.
Right. So the
So
etymology.
to me, Frida sounds kind of like, well,
Frito.
it's certainly a German name, but I don't think that has anything to do with this. It sounds kind of like frio or something in Spanish.
Okay.
So something to do with being like cold or chill, but that probably didn't have anything to do with it. It sounds like, freedom in English, but that's a false friend, right? That's kind of a homonym thing going on where it just, I think it's a proper name, and not descriptive of some object or action. But I'm going to say it is basically a neti pot for kids.
I'm gonna give you accurate on that. So I'm gonna read a little description on CVS here. We got doctors invented and recommended. This was made in Sweden. Okay, so nose Frida is your go-to natural, hygienic baby booger buster. So essentially, it's totally safe for parents and babies. So if parents you don't know about this or kids you don't know about this, essentially what it is, You used to have these little bulbs that like you like take this little like air pocket bulb thing and you would suck the boogers out of your kid's snotty nose. But now you have this thing which is way more effective, and it's an automatic or a manual one. We have the manual one. And so it's like one end, you just plug it in their nose and it leads a long straw and you suck the boogers out. There's a filter in between that catches all
so you're not
of it.
gonna
You're not going to swallow
It's not like
anything.
siphoning gas out of a tank where you might get a
No.
little bit in your mouth.
Have you done that before?
I've lived a full life, and I've had to do auto repairs.
Good job. That was the easy one.
I've siphoned a fish tank more than I've siphoned a gas tank.
There you go. Okay, you
Also
ready for the
kinda
next
gross.
one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the easy one.
That was the easy one. Okay. Our next word. Now remember, these are baby items, okay? A boppy.
So I'm not going to stall on this one nearly as much.
Boppy.
Oh,
Boppy.
I would have said IE. Now, okay, two thoughts in my mind.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when I'm actually making my guess. I'm just going to give you the thought process out loud. But two thoughts in my mind. First thought, something the baby puts in its mouth, like a pacifier. Second thought, kind of sounds like a bonnet. I wonder if it's something the baby puts on its head. Third thought, which I just had now, this is like the Psalms where it's like, one thing I know, two will I tell you, and then they give three things. I wonder if it's something that, like, because I've seen babies laying on the floor just like swatting stuff. It's over the top of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
we usually
like-
call those play mats. I'll give that one away. It's not a play
Okay,
mat.
it's not a play mat.
So I just gave you an
So
easy.
boppy is not something that the baby bops, like hits.
I mean, I can't fully give that away. I don't want to, I don't want to mislead you. So go ahead. What's your guess?
I'm going to
Boppy.
say that a boppy is a type of pacifier. I knew it was wrong when I said it, but
But you still went for it.
But if it was that, I would have been like, oh, I knew it was that.
So a boppy is a nursing pillow. It's a pillow that goes around the mom that the baby kind of lays on and nurses from the
Why is
mom.
it called a boppy?
They're happy. They're bopping about after they eat. I don't know. Don't really know. See, it has to make sense to you. In children's terms, it doesn't make sense. All right, next word. Here we go.
That doesn't make any sense.
Let's just go from a boppy to another B word. A bumbo.
That's also not okay.
How about this? I'll use this in a sentence for you.
Okay. Thank you.
The child wanted to be more comfortable, so they went and got the bumbo. A little vague.
No, but that's some helpful context right there. A bumbo.
The bumbo.
I wonder, could it be something that, I'm not guessing yet, just talking out loud. Could it be something that the baby sits on? No, the baby's not going to get something to sit on. Because babies don't do that. They're not like, oh, the floor is hard. I'm going to go sit on a pillow. Let me go get a pillow. Let's define baby real quick. How old are we talking for these stories?
I would assume a bumbo could be used 3 months old through 18 months old.
Ooh,
Well,
okay.
18 might be high.
18 might be high.
Let's go 12.
So we're talking barely walking.
Let's go like
right?
3 months to a year.
Okay.
Is going to be your go-to time. Some mom is yelling at me that is totally incorrect.
What kind of
right
baby
now,
can go
but-
get something at 3 months?
No. I said they went and got the bumbo to make the baby more comfortable or something like that. I'm
We're
already forgetting
recording,
my.
so I feel like we can fact check that.
We can fact check that, but
We'll let our listeners do that. They're all on my side. They understand that this game is rigged against me.
but they still love it.
Yeah, the bumbo. I just can't. They want the baby to be comfortable, so they got the bumbo.
Yes.
But we already had a pillow, so it's probably not a pillow.
Or is it?
Could it be a blanket of some sort. I'm going to go with a blanket. It's a blanket.
The Bumbo is not a blanket. Should have gone with your original guess. It is this. You've seen it in our house. It's that little yellow thing on the floor circle. They sit in, but it like holds them in. It's like a foam circled seat. You know what I'm talking about? You've seen it in our house, so it supports their back fully. So like someone like Sophia right now, who's 7 months old, who doesn't have the best, abdominal control and falls over.
Right, needs to do some core work.
It's to make, yes, exactly. I need to get her doing some crunches
Pilates
and things
stuff.
like that. You should have got, I was accenting. I was trying to help you. I said Bumbo.
Well, I was going there, but then I got confused with the whole, like, the baby is going to get this thing.
This is okay. You want my favorite one? I'll save my favorite one for last. We have two more.
All right,
okay.
2 more.
Come on. You're 1 correct, 2 wrong. You can redeem yourself.
I can get above 50%.
Okay.
That would be a huge win in this.
Ergo baby.
Mm.
ERGO.
Yeah, like ergonomic. But ergo
Or is
means
it?
work. So there's some etymology for you. Comes from, bam. Probably comes from energes or something in Greek. Ergo.
You want a sentence?
Ergo also means therefore in Latin, but I don't think that.
I don't.
I think it has to do with work and energy and that. Yeah, give me a sentence.
I'll do a medium hint.
Okay.
The mother was tired, so she went and picked up the ergo baby.
Ergo baby.
So people will just call it an ergo, but
ergo. Okay.
it's technical term when you
Ergo
go
baby.
and fact check. Yeah, the brand is Ergo Baby.
I think that it must be something that will rock the baby while the mother is sleeping or resting, and that it is powered, and that's why it's called ergo. It's probably also comfortable, but that's not why it's called ergo, even though ergonomic is a thing. I think it's like a little sort of swingy seat powered thing
Okay.
that'll rock the baby a little bit.
Now, what if I gave you this sentence? The mother was tired, so she strapped on the ergo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
That's like
gave it
a
away.
really
That
big
was a good
clue.
hint. Yeah, it's a baby carrier that you wear the baby in.
That's like partially correct, partially wrong, because I know this last one you're not going to get correct at all, but it's just a fun one. My favorite of all, the Wubbanub. WUBBANUB. All one word, Wubbanub.
Wubbanub is an amazing word. I like the word Wubbanub.
The baby
do we have
was
some Jeopardy
screaming
music?
at
I feel like
Oh, I actually do.
some double Jeopardy music. Yes, that's what I wanted. Okay.
The baby was
This will help.
screaming at the top of its lungs, so the family ran to get the Wubbanub.
Ran.
This is awesome.
Yeah. No, this
Every-
the trumpet always helps. It's such a smooth, mellow trumpet. Pure.
Little Kenny G.
Wubbanub. That's saxophone.
I
but
know, close enough. Whatever.
Wubbanub. A Wubbanub is the pacifier through which you administer the baby's medicine.
You only know of this pacifier because you've been over our house and
I've seen
saw,
you use it.
which is interesting. Made by Nose Frida.
Swedish.
So I'm gonna give
Genius.
you a correct.
Hey!
It's not.
It's not that, but
It's a pacifier.
oh,
It's the ones though. I'm sure you've seen them with the animal attached. It's like the little Beanie Baby animal with the passy on the end. You're looking very confused right now.
how big is the Beanie Baby? It seems like it would tip the pacifier out
No,
of the
it's
baby's
like
mouth.
here. Like I got a picture.
All right. Yeah, it's gigantic.
Well, I don't know if the picture is not to scale or whatever, but I just love
Does
the name.
the baby has to
Wubbanub.
be on the ground with the weight of the Beanie Baby on the ground? right?
Yeah, I don't.
You're not just like
look,
holding a baby with the.
Wubbanub.
That must be a really light Beanie Baby.
Yeah. There was a lot of other things in contention.
Y'all need to look
like,
up what Wubbanub.
I think everybody probably knows what a Wubbanub is besides you. So,
but I got it right.
I thank you for indulging in that. And
that's like 2.5 out of 5. I think.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 50,
even 50%.
Yeah, great. I mean, in baseball, if you were hitting 50, 500,
I'd be 500.
you'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And so I am in the Hall of Fame of guessing.
And really what I was
toys.
thinking about, Father Paul, with all of this was, what encouragement can we give to young parents in raising their kids in the faith during this time? That's really what spurred this on. I saw these kids at Father Henry's things, and I was thinking about these, funny words and different things, and just our kids are in a crazy culture.
Mm-hmm.
A culture where it's distorting sexuality, it's distorting truth,
mental health,
and
more pressures,
more anxiety, loneliness, everything,
all the things that adults struggle with, but they're being formed in it. These kids
from an early age,
and it's just you can see the effect it's having
right.
quickly.
Yeah. I mean, what encouragement do we have to parents? I mean, you'd like to be like, well, just take them to mass. And as a parent who takes their kids to mass, sometimes it's rough, I mean, what tangible advice do we have for a parent to say, keep going, keep fighting the good fight, like finish the race,
Mm-hmm.
that whole, what St. Paul writes. I mean, I think of that when I think of parents. It's like at baptism, you said, I'm going to walk, I'm going to get them to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can we do that in this culture?
Yeah. So my first thought is that
Wubbanub.
yeah, the power of the Wubbanub.
Wubbanub.
Yeah, turn to the magical talisman Wubbanub with the stuffed elephant on the front that somehow does not tip everything out of balance.
Oh my goodness. I didn't mean to hit the crickets.
Very rude.
No, I know. I meant to actually hit the space theme while you were talking about Wubbanub. But go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so yes, parents do they take on that immense responsibility at baptism of raising the child in the faith, and that's one way to look at it. That's an important way to look at it. But the other way is that they're co-workers with God Almighty in this, and that they're His children, and that He's always greater. So, I mean, do you remember Lord of the Rings type stuff?
Yep.
You remember the Palantir, that orb? That there were a couple of them, and you could look into it, and it would sort of tell you the future and what was happening in other places. But it had this way of distorting the vision.
Mm-hmm.
So it would tell you true things, but impartially.
Yeah.
And so it almost drove one
similar
of the
to the thing.
Hobbits crazy.
See, you think of Lord of the Rings. I think of there's something like that in Harry Potter. There's something like that in Star Wars. There's all these ones, right?
Yeah,
I feel like there's something
exactly.
like doesn't Rey look into
new Star Wars?
Like,
Do the new Star Wars
Wars
really count though? I like him. I'm just kidding.
But
I'm just teasing.
Luke has that vision where he sees Vader's mask, remember, and his face.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so the Palantir, yes, you're right. That is a trope in those kind of things. So there's something true about it, that's why it would appear in those different ways. But we have to be really careful when we look out and survey the landscape, that we're seeing everything in the context of God's mercy and His love and His almighty power. Because we can look and sometimes look in a way that is that's too myopic, too sort of focused in on the gloomy details
Yeah.
and missing like the context of this great adventure of salvation that God's calling us on. And I think that parents have to do that a lot because there's so many chaotic details. And then when they can sort of like get above water just for a minute to snatch a breath, they look out and it's like, oh my gosh, this world is conspiring against the health of my child in so many ways. Like that's why it's so important to do what sound like basic things, but are foundational things, like immersing yourself in daily scripture. Even if you can't read it every day, which we do encourage, we talk about it all the time, to listen to it every day, right? Listening and reading are the same thing.
Yeah.
Like listening is not less than reading if you're paying attention to it.
Right.
And also faith comes through hearing. That's what St. Paul says. So, but like to, get some recording of the scriptures and to have that going on in the background so that even if you can't pay attention to it, at least it's there. I think I said this before in a podcast, like I'm still just picking my way through this book by Cantalamessa, Sober Intoxication of the Spirit. And he had this one point where it was like, how much time, just be honest assessment. How much time do you spend learning about the ways of the world versus learning about the ways of God?
Right.
And that's not everything, right?
Right.
But that is, if we're going to be able to realistically assess this full context with the eyes of faith, then we can't be so immersed in the things of the world
Right.
to the exclusion of the things of God that we forget how he works.
Right.
A lot of it, I mean, yeah, the effect that technology in particular, as awesome as it is, it lets us do this podcast. I just pointed at the podcast equipment if you're not watching, but it lets us do this, but that's a huge factor. That's one of the main factors actually in kind of the aggravation of the human psyche, and especially for developing kids, like just having too much information at once and having too many concerns that you can't do anything about.
Right.
Like your sphere of influence only goes so far, but now instead of being on a farm or being in a town where like, okay, you know what's going on there and you get the newspaper and mail every so often, but now you've got just real time, like, oh my gosh, this thing's happening halfway across the world and this thing's happening, 2 states over, and this thing's happening federally, and just like you can't control any of it. And it is important, especially for adults, to stay in the know, but it's so easy for us to get tipped out of balance to where it becomes this anxiety cycle. And that's a concrete thing as well. Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, parents, on the one hand, like you can't let yourself be drawn out of sort of stability into orbiting around the changing news cycle and stuff like that.
Right.
You need to basically be the model of the Carthusians, the motto of the Carthusians, stat cruxtum volvitur orbis, the cross stands still while the world revolves around. Like if you are with Christ, fixed to the cross, then there will be a stability, and everything else needs to orbit around that stability, not letting yourself get drawn out. So that's the one side of it. But then concretely for your kids, being able to say some hard no's to things that are givens in the culture, which are drawing them out into that crazy orbit. And not that, there's different ways to go about this. Some parents choose like a strong retreat, right? Circle the wagons in kind of an intensive way, like move out to the country, homeschool kids. Like they take measures that are as drastic as that. And I'm not poking fun at those at all. Like, like there may be situations where you need to do that.
Right.
But not everybody can do that. And
Right.
that also isn't the best response for everybody.
Right.
So, but it's somewhere along the spectrum of, abandoning your child to the changing tides of the culture, to bouncing on those waves, and retreating entirely and living this isolated bubble life. Like somewhere in there, it's is where you're going to find the place, and it's probably going to be changing a lot. But I know that part of your job, parents, is going to be taking like sort of aggressive defensive measures against the more toxic elements of our culture. That's not your only job, but that's part of it.
And I think one danger I have is that because I tend to be a perfectionist in my work and other things like that, I can say, well, I don't want to do this with the kids because it's not going to be perfect. Like a rosary or something like that. It's like, well, this is going to go terrible, so let's just not do it, right? I think if I was to give any encouragement, say, you're not alone. There's other people, me and my wife included, that struggle with this idea of, how we're raising our kids to be faithful Catholics. And we need to know, and we need to do this in community, What's your famous line about community?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for teeing me up.
I did.
The scarcest commodity in the United States, in American culture, is authentic community.
I mean, parents, surround yourself with community so that we can raise holy kids. I mean, I want to say one other funny story as we finish it.
Can I throw in one more thing before?
Please.
I think that there's a real sort of heroic quality to this as well. Like that, looking into the Palantir, surveying the landscape, having that anxiety of, the responsibility that weighs on you. Like, we need to be able, and with the help of God's grace, right, to look at those things and to respond heroically, because otherwise it's gonna sort of cow us into the corner, and we're gonna think, I can't do this.
Right.
But like, we need heroic parents. I think that's all I wanted to say. It's just that in supporting each other, in making these decisions for your family and all that, like, it's going to take a certain heroism to make the kinds of decisions that are asked of you.
And I say this to myself: if at times we cared as much about instilling the faith in our children as we did about teaching them soccer or dance or art lessons or whatever it may be, right? Like, we will go to great ends as parents to set them up for success in these extracurriculars or school or college or that. And it's like, but yet I haven't put the same effort towards the faith, which is the only thing at the end of time that matters, because it's the only thing that's going to carry on. Funny little story to end, so it's not depressing. We got as well given, I saw somebody gave it to you, the Lego Catechism book thing.
It's incredible.
It's
the greatest thing.
It is awesome.
I'm so happy with it.
So I don't know the full backstory, but they don't really make Jesus Lego things, but they painted them and they designed all those things in them. And so I started reading this with Dom, and he was into it and all that. Now, he was a little confused because he's like, now, where does it teach me how to build this scene of the Last Supper? I was like, it doesn't. It just wants you to focus on the... Yes, exactly. I was like,
that's amazing.
No, they just want you to focus on that. This is the Eucharist, bud. And he's like, okay. And so at the end, I'm like at this great point as a parent. He's like engaged in the book. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, Dom, look at this last scene. Like, Jesus died for our sins. Don't you think we should try to get like a Lego Jesus? Wouldn't it be great? He's like, yeah. But it would be better? A Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, Dom.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Get out of here. So on that, I just, the struggle's real. The struggle is real. Okay. Hey,
3 for 3.
Avery, Danny, if you made it through the episode,
Edward.
shout out. And Edward. No, but we really appreciate all of you that take time to listen. Parents, don't give up faith. We're praying for you. And we'll continue to work on different baby items for Father Paul, see if he can come through. On behalf of Joey Scansella, Father Paul Bechter, take care.
God bless.